Salutations everyone, it's time for another Overwatch video talking about just the craziest 3 weeks or so of Overwatch when it comes to the PTR testing and patches and buffs and nerfs, and then those getting changed after less than a day. And then of course we have Orisa, the new character that'll be coming out on the 21st. So let's just get a quick rundown of all of the changes that are still in the PTR and what we can expect when the patch comes out with Orisa. What changes will be kept, considering there was no new changes this past week. So let's first start with Ana. Now her biotic rifle damage was decreased from 80 to 60. So she's not going to be doing as much damage. You know, she's not going to be that healer that can do CC and AoE healing and single target healing and some really good damage. So she's going to lose that. Her biotic grenade impact damage was reduced from 60 to 30, and the healing reduced from 100 to 50. But after less than a day of testing, they reverted the bionic grenade nerf. So a lot of people said that this bionic grenade nerf was just, it neutered her, it completely takes her out of the meta, and it completely changes, you know, the role that she had. And apparently Blizzard was listening, because it didn't even take a day for like, all right, we'll give her grenade back. But the biotic rifle damage being decreased from 80 to 60 is staying. So Pharahs are going to be a little bit safer. They're going to require an extra shot now to take down from an Ana. So Pharahs are going to do pretty well. But overall, since it's just a change to her damage, it's not going to take away from her healing potential and her role in the meta currently. Junkrat is getting one small but pretty nice change. He's getting a new passive called Total Mayhem, which allows him to not get hurt by his own explosions. Now this is a very small change, but a change that I think was a long time coming. Junkrat, not one of the characters that you see very often in competitive. I mean, I do play him. I really like him, especially on Gibraltar, attack or defense. I like that character. I've been playing him a lot since the beta. He's not one of my more used characters because he doesn't fit, you know, a very, very good DPS role. And the ability to not take damage from your explosions super duper helps when it comes to close quarters battles, because, you know, he's still relatively squishy. So if you get like even a Zero Suit Diva coming up close to you, you should be able to kill her, but you might accidentally kill yourself as well. So, and obviously this is going to apply to his Riptire, which we've seen, I'm sure we've all had some circumstances, either when we're facing a Junkrat or we are a Junkrat, where we immediately release the tire and somebody's right next to us. So now we can blow them up and not kill ourselves and save ourselves instead. So that's a small change. It's a quality of life change for all Junkrat players and is very nice. Orisa is getting two nerfs. She got 2 nerfs in the PTR after only being available for playtesters a week. So her magazine size was lowered from 200 to 150, and the cost for her ultimate supercharger was increased by 15%. Now, when Orisa first came out and was available to the PTR, everybody tried her out, and some of the big names out there didn't think that she was that great. You know, she's not going to take away from what Reinhardt does. She's okay, she's pretty fun, but nobody thought she was going to make a big impact when it came to the competitive scene. But still, she's getting 2 nerfs. Apparently they thought that she was doing too much reliable damage, even though her damage over range drop-off is pretty significant and her gun itself doesn't do a ton of damage. Yeah, she has that alternate fire that's a tiny little graviton surge that has its limitations, but definitely can have a lot of uses as well. And she does have that nice barrier, but she's going to have 50 less shots, so I don't know, because I haven't played her, I don't know how much of a big impact that's going to have. Like, if Bastion lost his 300 rounds and went back to 200 rounds, I don't think that's going to hurt him, because 200 is always a crap ton and reloading doesn't take forever. So Orisa not going to be as good as the first people who got to play her. Sombra is getting more buffs, so her sound effects and voice over distance for entering and exiting stealth has been reduced by 15 meters, so she's going to be a little bit more quiet instead of saying, guess what, I've been here the whole time, and then everybody turns around and shoots her. She's going to be a little bit more stealthy with that. And the cooldown from her translocator has been reduced from 6 seconds to 4 seconds, so she'll be able to teleport and be a little bit more safe, survive a little bit longer once she has that translocator up or if it's a quick throw it and immediately teleport because, you know, a Reaper's on your ass or something like that. So that's pretty nice. Some people think that that's going a little bit overboard, but we've yet to see Sombra be a highly used character at any level, you know, either, you know, even quick play or bronze whatsoever. So maybe these buffs will put her as a really reliable flanker that more people are going to give a shot. And another change that they are making is to allow teammates to see hacked med packs through walls, and this allows Sombra to have a bigger impact on her team. She's going to be able to get more heals because more people are going to see that hacked health pack and they're going to go to it, and it only takes a couple of times before it comes back out. Winston is getting a huge change. Obviously, they've fixed in the PTR the fact that his critical hitbox was moved to his elbow when it was supposed to be a smaller portion of his head. So that obviously got fixed a bit ago in the PTR. But the big one is that the cooldown for his barrier projector now will start when the barrier is placed instead of what it ends. This is how it originally was. So instead of a full 13 seconds, it's going to be 8 seconds from when you throw it down the first time to when you can throw it down again. So that's 5 seconds shaved off. That's going to make him much better, especially because his barrier can't soak up a ton of damage, and the fact that, you know, Winston if he doesn't have his leap, he doesn't have really many defensive options outside of that barrier, and when that's on cooldown, that makes him quite a big target. So a decent change. You know, it's not, some people want him to do more damage or not have to reload, but this is definitely a welcome change for a lot of people. How this will stack up with Reinhardt shields and Orisa shields to where there's just barriers everywhere, we have yet to see, but the fact that you can only have one Winston, there's only going to be one bubble out there. Zenyatta got a small buff and then a big buff, but then that big buff got taken away from him. So the small buff was his Orb of Destruction, alternate fire, recovery was reduced from 1 second to 0.6 seconds. You don't use this alternate fire all that often. I'll find myself charging if I'm, you know, about to go around a corner, just so if I have something to shoot out, I could hopefully do as much damage as possible. Before I can get a Discord orb on him, or if you have a line of sight on a Bastion and you want to make sure when he knows that you're there that you already did as much damage as you could. So that's really nice. A little bit of extra recovery time has been shaved off, and they got rid of his bloom. It's not very noticeable, and I myself didn't notice because I don't have a reticle on my Zenyatta that shows bloom. So he did have a tiny bit of bloom, so now he has no bloom. So there's going to be no slight decrease to your Zenyatta accuracy, so that's a small quality change of life. And the Orb of Discord, they tried it out for about a day, almost a day, same as the Ana Biotic Nade nerf, to where he could target enemy enemy barriers with his Orb of Discord. And I thought this was going to be a big change, because obviously if you go up to a choke, whether at the beginning of the game or, you know, through Streets phase or something like that, and you see that Reinhardt shield in a small area, there's not much that Zenyatta can do except do Rein shield damage or hope that somebody pokes from behind that shield to where you can get the orb on them. And this would make dive comp a lot easier, because boom, you can Discord at least the Reinhardt, and then Winston can jump in and shoot him, and then Zarya bubbles him, and that would have definitely changed the way things are, but that was reverted after less than 24 hours. And then the next week, we got another change. The Bastion Ironclad got a nerf, so now he takes 20% less damage while in Sentry or Tank mode, as opposed to 35%. I think this is the right way, but it's not enough. You're only losing 15%, so he's still going to be super duper tanky. He still survives a ton of ults if he's in Sentry mode and is healing. He's still pretty ridiculous, and this isn't going to lower his pick rate, or everybody, you know, doing the El Presidente strategy where the meta right now is, through most levels of play, Bastion, Mercy, Reinhardt. You have a Mercy power boosting and or healing the Bastion that is behind a protective Reinhardt shield. That is the way that so many people are playing right now, and I think this small change, while good, is not going to be enough to make an impact in how easy he is to kill significantly, or how many people will pick him. Mercy got a small change to stat tracking, so that's not really going to change anything. Zarya got a change to her particle barrier, so that the barrier does not protect her or her protected allies from knockback anymore. So you'll be able to boop Zarya even if she's shielded with, the Pharah concussion shot, or with Lucio, or with Winston, in his ultimate, or Reinhardt, the little that he can do with his hammer. I think that's fair. It just makes those small, boopable moments, possible when the Zarya barrier is there. It still protects them fully from damage, but is no longer going to change the knockback. And we also got a Reddit AMA from Jeff Kaplan. He went over a lot of things, including that there's going to be another upcoming change to Eichenwald on the first choke, which we know is one of the more difficult ones. Obviously, it's great if you can, Winston and then jump and then get him bubbled, but now we have the Bastion that we have to worry about. And of course, you can always flank around with Pharah, or, possibly Genji, although he wouldn't be as useful because, but Pharah can catch people by surprise, take out the Symmetra turrets, and then allow, a Tracer or a Genji or somebody to get on the point, or allow a Reinhardt to get a window where he can charge after all the turrets are gone. So that's going to be nice. We don't know what that change is going to be, but they're looking into it. He said they're also looking into a change to Lucio because he is a must-pick in competitive. In pro play, Lucio is picked like 95 or 96% of every single pro game. So yeah, he is a must-pick. And they're trying to find out a way to make him seem like he has more of a personal impact. So when you play Lucio, especially in the lower level of play, where Lucio isn't very useful because when you speed boost, nobody follows you. Trust me, I've experienced this firsthand. And I'm sure many of you have as well if you do not play in a group and you don't feel like you have a big impact as Lucio on the lower levels where people aren't communicating and playing well in teams. But at the same time, they want to make him more rewarding, but not make him so dominant. And many people have said the only way to do this is to make a new hero that can change the speed of their team, since Lucio is the only character that can do that, and that's what makes him a must-pick and so good for team fights, as well as the healing capability, which, if you remember in the beta, when the game first came out, Lucio was also the best healer. He could just heal way more than Mercy could do, even if she had, a bunch of tanks at her disposal. Lucio could just heal more, so they changed that, and so there might be some changes to his primary fire to make that seem more impactful, but also, maybe nerf either the boosting abilities of speed boost or healing. So we'll see what they do with that. They're looking into that, but they said that it might not even happen because they don't want to make him useless, and that is an obvious thing that we do not want. He also said that Winston is the least used character in the game, so this barrier change hopefully is going to help that, and they're trying to figure out a way to make every map more 50-50. They said that Eichenwald isn't near that, so they're making that change, and that, some characters are hardly getting picked like Winston, so they're going to try to make him more rewarding and usable in team comps. So they want to make every character in every map usable and rewarding at all levels of play. This is, of course, impossible to do perfectly across, the pro scene, the competitive scene, and the casual scene, but we can, at least give Blizzard kudos for, how balanced the game is right now. The closest we had to, a must-pick, that's the meta, was the triple tank with, you had Ana and Roadhog and Reinhardt, and Ana and Roadhog and Reinhardt are still some of the best characters in there, along with Lucio. I think that's your top 4 easily right there. With the value that you can get out of those characters, but it's not like other games where you have to pick these 2 characters or these 5 characters. Overwatch is such a balanced game, and it's only going to get better, and with some awesome cosmetic updates and new maps and new characters like Orisa, which we can look forward to in the future.